Welcome to Cardiff University. I work at the Student Support Centre at the Heath Hospital site in Cardigan House. I'll show you a map in a minute of where we're actually located. It's difficult to say what kind of issues or concerns or queries, inquiries that you might come across during your time on your research projects. We tend to see very few postgraduate research students from the medical school. So I'm assuming by that everyone is getting on fine, or they just don't know where we are. They never heard of us before, so it could be one of the two. But hopefully everything will go okay. But I'd like to mention some of the things that might not go according to plan, so at least you know what your options are if that should happen to you. We don't always deal with problems though. Quite a few of our students come in to see us for routine things like learning support, such as dyslexia support. So if you've received that kind of support previously in your previous studies, then you might be interested in coming in to see us about accessing that kind of support while you're doing your research project here. You are entitled to that kind of support. It could be study skills, IT equipment, that kind of thing. And if you're a Home UK student, you should be able to access an allowance that will pay for that kind of support. We do other things as well, as I mentioned about sometimes we do see students who encounter difficulties with their studies or other aspects of being at university, and we offer support for situations that could arise, such as counselling. So we have quite a few students who access our counselling service, about 800 a year are registered for counselling with us. And for my part, I provide advice and guidance on all general welfare matters and financial matters to students. This is where we are, map of the Heath Hospital site. I've been here 4 years and I've only just managed to find my way through the main building to here, the shortcut. Otherwise, up to that point, I was always going around the ring road. If you're familiar with the Heath Hospital site, if you've been here before, then I'm sure you'll have no problems in finding your way around. But it's one of the challenges that you'll be faced with if you haven't studied here before. The Cardigan House building is number 103. That's where we're located, the Student Support Centre. We're actually going to be opposite the new medical education building that's nearly complete, and you might be using facilities there at some point. So we're in building 103. If you locate the lake, and just to the left of the lake is the main concourse entrance where all the coffee shops are, then we're just to the northeast of there. And currently you're in building 110, which is in the bottom left-hand corner. So as I say, I usually go around the ring road. If you do go through the main building, you might like to take a big ball of string so that you can find your way back. All our services are available to international students. You're welcome to come in and see what we offer and see if anything might be applicable to you. The only exception to that is at Cardigan House, we don't provide any services for visa and immigration advice or visa extensions. That has to be done down at our main centre with my colleagues Jenny Clements and her team at 50 Park Place. However, that's going to change. From November, Jenny and the team are going to come up to the Heath to be available for international students for all inquiries, and that will be publicised, hopefully via Blackboard. Perhaps you might get an email to publicise that. So from November, the international team will be based up at the Heath to run so many sessions here. But up until that point, if you've got those kind of specific inquiries, you have to go down to 50 Park Place. So what could possibly go wrong in the next 3 years or so? Hopefully nothing, but there are a few things I think would be good to make a note of. I'm sure you've got information on this already, or you've looked it up on the web. But one of the fundamental aspects of being a research student is your working relationship with the supervisor. And whenever I see research students who encounter problems on their research project, quite often it's because of a breakdown in the relationship between them and their supervisor. Now, we're all human, so it could be that you may not actually get on with your supervisor personally. That doesn't matter. What matters is the working relationship that you have and what to do if things don't go according to plan in that relationship. And if you have concerns and if you feel that you're not making the kind of progress you should be making, there's a document that's on the web called the Research Degrees Code of Practice. That's your terms of reference. If you haven't already seen it, I'd advise that you download it and keeping it handy, or just making sure it's bookmarked as a favourite, because it might come in useful, and it's something that's useful to look at now. I know what it's like if you buy things over the internet. They always give you a box to tick if you accept the terms and conditions, and looking at this code of practice you might think, oh well, I can't be bothered with that, I'll just keep it. But it is really important. It's a fundamental document for your use. It covers those kind of things that are on the screen behind me. And as I say, sometimes we do see students who unfortunately do experience problems with their supervisor. There are various courses that you can do, and I'm sure you'll get lots of information about this that will help you manage your research project. And there's one that's actually called How to Manage Your Supervisor. Now that would be quite a good one to go on at this stage, because it's a colleague of mine who works with us who's doing a research project part-time said he found it very useful. Because there is a feeling sometimes amongst students that I see, well, we're not too sure what we can ask our supervisor. Should we just do everything that the supervisor says? And that isn't the case. It's a two-way relationship. So it's important to know what is expected of your supervisor, but also what the supervisor can expect of you as well. If the worst comes to the worst, and something does go fundamentally wrong with your project, and you're not really communicating that well with your supervisor, then you can come in and see myself. I can go through the options with you, and my colleagues in the Students' Union, they are your representative body, and they can represent you and offer you more constructive advice, more detailed advice on issues like that. So you will have someone to turn to if that does happen, but hopefully it won't. Other things that could potentially go wrong, obviously if you're here for 3 years or more, then that's life. Things do happen, things do change, and we often see students where personal circumstances change. Some circumstances might change at home, something affects your studies. If anything happens in your personal life or your family life, obviously that's your business, but if it affects your research in any way, then our advice, our recommendation is that you speak to someone about it, even if you speak to friends on your course, other researchers, or you speak to your supervisor, or failing that, come in and speak to someone at the support centre. Please don't let these things fester away, because that can cause a problem later on. So if anything does happen that affects your studies and you are worried about it, then come in and see us. A few financial things just to mention. Obviously, I don't know how you're funded. You might get a stipend, a council award, or you're self-funded, your studies, or your family are funding them for you. Whatever way you are funding your studies, if there's a delay in any income that you're expecting in, and that causes some problems, we have an emergency loan scheme that you can access via the support centre. It's interest-free. We can issue a loan to help with basic living costs, and then you just repay it back when you get your next income through. I say it is interest-free. We can go higher than £200. So if that should happen to you, a mini financial crisis or a cash flow problem, then come in and see us about that. We also have some grant schemes as well. These tend to be focused on emergency situations, but for Home UK students, we have a grant scheme that could help with extra costs. And I mentioned sort of childcare on there, but there could be other costs like travel to attend your research project or other things that aren't covered from the income or funding that you have. So for Home UK students, it might help with extra costs. But for all students, we have grant schemes that you don't have to pay back that could help with emergency situations. And that includes international students as well. For advice about career planning, if that's something you will think of during your studies, your time here, Josie Grindoulis is the careers consultant for research students based here at the Heath, and she comes up to the Student Support Centre at Cardigan House, so you can book an appointment to see her anytime at Cardigan House. You don't have to go down to the career service in Park Place. I know this has probably been mentioned or will be mentioned, the Graduate Centre. It's an excellent resource for graduates, for research students. I think the best form of support that you can get at university is from your peers, from your colleagues and friends who are doing projects alongside you. That's the best form of support. We're employed by the university. We are here for you if you should need us, but the best kind of support and encouragement you can get is from friends on the course. And the best way I think of making more friends on the course, meeting new people, is through the Graduate Centre. I think sometimes when I speak to some research students, tend to be incredibly focused on your research project, a bit like moles really, and you just get buried away into the research and everything else sort of is left aside. So I think it's really important that you actually reach out a bit. There are other people here at the university besides those who are directly involved in your research. So the Graduate Centre is an excellent way of meeting other people. Those are our contact details. Hopefully everything will go really well for you, and I hope you really enjoy your time here at the university. As I say, to put it into perspective, we don't actually see that many research students who come in with issues or concerns. It does happen from time to time, but I hope you have a good time on your research project and I hope it goes well.